Yes, I've built a Windows Vista rig, and guess what? It performs. So I've built this beautiful machine over here from some parts I had laying around and some I recently bought. So let's take a look what this wonderful Windows Vista machine has got inside. So first of all, for the processor we have a Core 2 Duo E8400, slightly overclocked to 3.2 GHz, which you can pick up for around about €5. For the RAM we have 2 times 2 GB of DDR2 800 RAM, which I had still lying around, but you can pick up that amount for around about €20. Our mainboard is a ASUS P5E Workstation Pro, which still goes for around about €60, but you can get a random board for around about $20, as long as it has socket 775 and supports DDR2 RAM. And now the part you've all been waiting for. Our GPU is an XFX GeForce 9800 GTX Plus, which is slightly overclocked, and you can pick one up for about €20. So this old beast packs 128 stream processors, a core frequency of 783 MHz, a shader frequency of 1836 MHz, and now for the memory, which is only 512 MB of GDDR3 memory, clocked at 1100 MHz. The case is an Aerocool SI5100 for €30. The power supply is a Cooler Master Silentpro 500 watt for €20. And the hard drive is a Seagate Barracuda 250 gig for €10. So you can build this rig with very similar parts for around about €150. But let's get that stuff out of the way and get straight over to the benchmarks. Counter-Strike Source was a breeze for the system. The graphics benchmark had an average of 277 FPS, a minimum of 245 FPS, and a maximum of 300 FPS. When hopping onto an actual server, we saw a little worse results, with an average of 121, a minimum of 64, and a max of 247. So maybe CSGO will hit the system a little more. And it did. So on the lowest settings we had an average of only 67 FPS, a minimum of 41, and a max of 107 FPS. It was pretty much playable, but not the most smooth experience I ever had. Let's see how the original Far Cry runs. As expected, very smooth. With an average of over 200, a minimum of 131 and a max of almost 500 FPS, this was perfectly playable on the system. Skyrim on the high preset ran with an average of 53, a minimum of 40, and a max of capped 60 FPS. So it was perfectly playable on this slightly older system. And now for the game you've all been waiting for. Minecraft! Just kidding, but I've also tested that. So it ran with an average of 287 FPS, and even the CPU didn't hold back any chunk loading, so it was perfectly playable. So I was also very interested in how this machine could handle Crysis. And it did handle Crysis pretty well. On the high preset, Crysis ran with an average of 51 FPS, a minimum of 26, and a max of 71 FPS. So that's it for today. I hope you've liked this build, and if you did, please tell me what you've liked about it down in the comments, or even consider rating this video or subscribing to my channel. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, cheerio!